Hello, friends and extended family. How are you doing today? Um, I have a few things on my mind. I like to get into the curiosities and the dogma that we've all sort of swallowed and pretend is settled science and facts and whatnot. And yet, being an adoptee and hearing all sorts of things from experts in academia that we're supposed to swallow whole, I don't buy into it because I've lived a very diverse life, and I've got to experience a lot of different a lot of different avenues and a lot of different peoples, and what I've experienced doesn't really line up with the mainstream narrative in a lot of cases. So let's talk about an interesting one that came up in a discussion the other day about adoptees being adopted by gay couples. So, again, I'm anti adoption, so I believe children belong with their mother and father. And if that's impossible, then I believe they belong with very close family, or the the child should go to whoever the parents wished to take over the rearing of their child. And this whole attitude that it's okay and it's a good thing that adoption is good to abandon your children needs to be done away with. That attitude needs to be kiboshed. And people need to know that adoptees didn't want to be separated from their families, regardless if they were poor or if they struggled with, whatever. The point being is they want to be with the two people that created them. So it's a non sequitur. I don't believe children need to go anywhere. And unfortunately, two gay people can't have their own baby unless, you start adding in some of the intersectional trans confusion where someone just claims to be of a certain sex and they are. So that's a whole other ball of wax. But during the conversation about this particular topic, I mentioned something about people's sexual proclivities or their proclivities, etc. And the person jumped up and was saying, people are born gay. Are they? Well, let me tell you a story. I, growing up, had another adoptee friend. And his situation was a little bit better, although he had a very sickly mother, and some of that seemed to transfer over to the child somehow, just like my adoptive mother's allergies and those sort of things I inherited due to her own poor nutrition and the causes of her conditions, which pass on to me because I'm living in that same environment that created the situations in her. So, this particular fella, he struggled as we all matured. I knew him from grade one on. And I was very interested in girls because I was initiated into homosexuality as a way of being with women. Someone asked, do you want to learn how to be with women? Who was a male. And I said, yes, yes, I do. Because I was missing female intimacy because I was missing my mother, I suppose. So, I mean, there's all sorts of things to unwind as we go through this and unwrap and consider. But at the same token, as we got older and into our teenage years and we started having girlfriends and things like that, this fella had a bit of an advantage because he was a little bit slower and he was sort of held back. So he was like a year ahead of everybody in our grade, or sorry, he was a year older than everyone in our grade. And anyways, he seemed to struggle to find girlfriends, and he was sort of a false character as well. And I'll describe what I mean by that, and maybe some of you guys or women or whatnot will know these type of people. So what he would do is when we would have a girlfriend, and boys growing up, it's a confusing game, the whole mating and the whole coupling situation, because it's true. Women don't want the nice, sappy guy, or at least that's how they're programmed, probably poorly. And boys pick up on that. That like my idols growing up were Fonzie and Batman and James Bond, and these are badass dudes, right? And it's like, hey, Fonzie, he's just cool. He doesn't care. He's got chicks. And somehow women are attracted to that. Let's not bullshit ourselves. Like, don't tell me you don't have, women out there that have friends. Don't tell me you don't have friends that are this woman that always go after the bad boy and then complain about how bad they are. It's this one of these things that we see and we experience all the time, and nobody seems to have a very good explanation for it. And I'm sure it's in psychology somewhere, of course. But anywho, so this guy would we'd trash talk, boys trash talk, just like women, I'm sure, trash talk and whatnot. And this guy though, he would turn around though, and he would kind of go behind our backs sometimes and be like, "Why are you with that guy? He doesn't appreciate you the way we would." Like he was this guy. So false friend, two-faced, but understandably so. He struggled to get girlfriends, and he was trying to play the nice guy angle, but he was deceptive about it. And I'm sure we see a lot of these guys on certain political groups, right? These guys virtue signaling. I think there was a whole YouTube video about it that was called, what was it, like woke fishing or something like that, where men are pretending to be these sort of things. And we do it. We will. As kids, we did. We wanted women. We were sex crazed people because of television. It hypersexualized us. And other scenarios, all sorts of things. But I mean, when you really get into looking at the upbringing and the growth and the influences and stuff, you can see it. It's there. And so anyways, so this guy struggled and he'd have a girlfriend, and that would fall apart right around maybe the time maybe intimacy would start taking place or whatnot. And we couldn't really figure it out, and we tried to help him, and like tried to coach him a little bit, like, don't be that way. But he had no luck. One day, and we were both blackout alcoholics. All the adoptees I knew were blackout alcoholics. When we go out and whoop it up, we'd lose it. And yeah, we all drank too heavily, but the adoptees, almost all the guys were blackout drunks. And you could tell because this particular character, he turned weird. Like he was not himself when these would happen, and he made no sense, and he'd do crazy things like running headfirst into a car that was moving. It was his car. And I was no better. I would black out and become someone different, and shit would happen, and there was always that fear waking up, like it's of someone saying, "Do you remember what you did last night?" And it's like, "Oh no, oh God, oh God," and it was always very out of character. So anyway, one day we're at the bar, me and this guy and a few of our other friends, and I'm in the washroom having a pee, and he comes in, he's like, rah, 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 and he's just wasted, blacked out for sure. And he starts peeing next to me at the urinal. and his pants, so from peripheral, I'm not staring at his penis, but his pants I see fall to the floor. So I looked, and as I looked, I also saw his penis. His penis, and I'm not exaggerating. Um, it was literally about this long, like about 2 inches, and that's being generous. And it was semi-erect while he was peeing, if not fully erect. It was straight out. So that clued me right in. This is the problem with this guy. He has a tiny penis. And that, I know some of you women are thinking, well, that shouldn't matter. But you're lying. You're lying through your teeth because this guy struck out with all kinds of different women. And you don't like tiny penises. And I felt very sorry for him at that stage, and it really answered a lot of questions. And it answered some other questions about how shallow some women are. And secular atheist society, let's face it, there's a lot of materialism, there's a lot of shallowness, there's a lot of plastic surgery. We're not perfect creatures. And I know some of you have made comments about my about women and how I feel about them. I love women. I don't love terrible women. And sometimes when I'm critiquing and talking about things, I'm talking about terrible women, and they're out there. That doesn't mean I hate women. And at the same token, if you were a feminist, you can walk around and say kill all men without any sort of repercussions or anything. So, that being said, I love good people. I wish there were more of them, but we seem to be heading in a very negative direction where people are rightfully upset and angry, but behaving horribly as if that somehow entitles them to make other people's lives horrible because theirs is not going well. That should not be the case. So, anyway, this guy, in understanding that this has happened, or understanding his situation now, over the next couple years from that point, he went through some other phases and many more strikeouts and heartbreaks. And I understand. Like when men can't couple and have intimacy, that's a problem. Same with women, I'm sure. And I empathize with that. That's a terrible situation to be in. Just like a baby who can't bond with its adopted mother. Terrible. I get it. But that being said, eventually he tried gay. Was he always gay? Was he born gay? He seemed to be attracted to women for many years. Tried to get a girlfriend. Then he decided he'd try men. And how do you think that went? Well, apparently gay men also are not maybe huge on small penises. Not all. I don't know all gay men. I'm not a gay man myself. Although I have experienced life and experienced and looked in many departments for my own happiness. So I understand things. I'm not speaking out my ass or ignorant, but at the same token, he struck out there as well. And I presume, and I don't know how many men he dated or whatnot, and we sort of lost track somewhere in there. Not because he was becoming gay; we had gay friends as well, but um, just because he moved to a different city, etc., etc. And I sort of lost track. And to be honest, I mean, I was starting to kind of outgrow him anyways because he was kind of a shallow individual. But as an adoptee even. But and maybe I was at the time too. But anyway, so was he gay? Was he always gay, and he should have just become gay? Because now, many years later, after he struck out with men, well, and this is probably a common story for these type of scenarios, he imported a woman from another country and now has at least one kid. And I haven't really been paying much attention, but there's the potential at 5 years that they hit the road once their citizenship is all secured, and take the kid, and then they get maintenance. That's a common story if you don't know. I know 3 men of that scenario. But anyways, it's just a thought that I don't think that people are born gay. I think people could be born effeminate. I myself am probably effeminate, and probably a lot of you have questioned, hey, is that guy gay? Because I've been asked that quite a few times in my life, and it doesn't bother me. When I was younger and my dad would call me a faggot because I grew my hair long, I I sort of rebelled and increased my hypersexuality towards women to prove that I wasn't gay, to my adopted father. But again, when you're adopted and you're confused about your identity and things like that, well, those sort of statements make an effect, and you know, um, potentially it may have affected me and my relationships with women because you know you're trying to prove something to someone, maybe to myself, that I wasn't that. I don't know. And again, I mean, I wish I was at this in this atmosphere. I wish I was attracted to men, because gay seems much safer to me than getting involved in relationships with women these days, considering all that's going on in the world and the negative and entitled attitude that it's okay for women to do whatever they want to men, all races, because of past grievances against men towards women, even if those grievances tend to reflect a tiny portion of the male population, extremely minuscule. And at the same token, as part of that equity, it seems as though that all men should be held responsible for that tiny minuscule that have done terrible things. Whereas all women's crimes are forgiven and ignored, seemingly due to their victim status. And this is, I believe, partially feminism, partially subversion, partially communism, partially lack of moral standards and moral education in our schools and homes these days. But those are sort of my thoughts. So I'm going to throw it out there that there may be men that are born gay and women that are born gay. That might be true. But from what I've seen, I believe people gravitate towards where they're going to find some sort of intimacy that's going to work for them. And I think for the most part, the main part, is that we as a people, because it's malleable, is what I'm saying, that it could be gay, could not be gay, that I believe we have a natural percentage of people that become homosexual, but I think that percentage can be increased through things like adding pride to being homosexual by portraying homosexuality with more positives when viewed through our programming devices, televisions, and things like that, through propaganda, etc. Because I believe I forget what it was. At one time, I knew the percentages of homosexuality that would occur naturally, and it appeared that over time that had been increased, and I think due to the reasons I mentioned. Some of the reasons I mentioned. And not only that, I mean, when you're pushing it in schools all the time, and if you suggest you get special rights, well, you start adding in a lot of perks and monetary advantages and things like that. Well, I'm not the animal that you see before me. The animal that you see before me vapes because it's addicted to vaping. But I, the person, am not pleased with the animal and its addiction. So, that being said, the animal wants that, and if it doesn't get it has anxiety and causes stress. Do you get that? You get that? And I've just experienced too much. Whereas someone wants to pretend you are a way, and you have no free will over that way. Well, if you become aware that you're doing something that doesn't suit you and something that's causing you damage, and you have extreme willpower, you could be in charge of the animal. And you might have to go through hell with that animal to change the behaviors, but it can certainly be done if the I wants it. So it's just something to think about, right? Don't let people tell you how things are. Don't don't believe me. Go out and experience the world for yourself and look into it yourself. Seek and you shall find. But at the same token, we've just been given the keys to the kingdom when they tried to tell you that you can't tell the difference between a man and a woman. If you buy that, you'll buy anything. And that's, I worked in sales, right? You just get a few yeses, and that just keeps going. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So careful what you're buying. Because if you can buy that your senses, you can't determine the difference between a man and a woman. Or if you had a gay experience when you were a kid. Oh, you're gay forever. Stay away from women. Oh, you're bisexual. Oh, you're this. Oh, you have to be that. Well, I can tell you that's not factual or true at all from personal experience. I can label myself whatever I want, given my buffet of experiences. But I'm choosing to try to move towards a more moral character, and I'm choosing to try to follow Christian precepts for myself. I don't care what you do. That's up to you. I hope you do something that makes you happy, and I hope you do something that makes the world a better place, and I hope you do something that makes those around you happier. But I mean, that's your choice. There's a lot of people out there right now choosing to annoy people, choosing to bully people, choosing to demoralize people, choosing to use deceptive, bad faith arguments. And I guess ultimately, if we can't figure this out, and if the people who believe, the people that tell them, believe only what we tell you, you choose to believe that line of crap, well, we're going to have problems, aren't we? That's about it for now.